Few films in the early 2000s dared to revive the Western, a genre many thought had already faded into the past. Then came Open Range, directed by and starring Kevin Costner, a project that reignited the spirit of the frontier on the big screen. With its raw authenticity, sweeping landscapes, and heartfelt performances, the film reminded audiences why the genre still mattered. But behind the camera, the story was far more dramatic. From financial risks and injuries to hidden details and creative choices, here are 10 secrets that reveal how this modern Western became a timeless classic. Number 1. A forgotten novel sparked all. Long before Kevin Costner brought the story to life, the roots of Open Range were found in an old Western novel few people remembered. Written by Lauren Payne, The Open Range Men was one of more than 1,000 Westerns he published, most of which were considered pulp fiction. The book's focus leaned more heavily on Boss Spearman, while Charlie Waite was given less depth on the page. Costner and screenwriter Craig Storr saw an opportunity to expand Charlie's role, giving him a richer backstory and emotional weight that could resonate with audiences. This shift in focus not only created a more dynamic relationship between Boss and Charlie, but also allowed the film to balance action with heart. Without Payne's little-known novel as its foundation, Open Range may never have existed. Yet, it was the creative changes made during adaptation that truly transformed forgotten pulp tale into a cinematic Western classic. Number 2, Costner's passion for the story. The decision to bring Open Range to the screen was not a casual one. Kevin Costner was deeply drawn to its themes of loyalty, justice, and the fading way of life in the West. He often spoke about how the story resonated with the struggles of ordinary people, immigrants searching for belonging, men haunted by violence, and communities trying to hold on to dignity in difficult times. What made the project stand out for him was not just the action or setting, but the personal relationships at its core. The bond between Boss Spearman and Charlie Waite captured something timeless about friendship and honor, while the love story with Sue Barlow added emotional depth. Costner believed that audiences would connect to these elements on a human level, even if they weren't fans of traditional Westerns. That conviction kept him committed to the film despite knowing it would be a difficult journey to make. Number 3. Hollywood didn't want it. By the early 2000s, Westerns were considered box office risks, relics from another era. Studio conversations circled the same doubts. Audiences were flocking to effects-driven spectacles like The Matrix and The Lord of the Rings, not dusty trail stories. Executives questioned whether a quiet character-first frontier drama could compete, and whether anyone still wanted saddle leather, wind, and silence on the big screen. Rather than wait for a green light that might never come, Kevin Costner chose a tougher path, putting a significant share of his own money behind Open Range. That decision traded safety for creative freedom, allowing him to keep the film's unhurried rhythm, insist on practical set pieces, and showcase real landscapes instead of sound stages. It also raised the stakes. If the movie missed, he would feel it personally. The pressure sharpened choices from casting to cinematography, so the film could speak with conviction. In the end, the risk created space for authenticity, setting the stage for the praise and box office return that would arrive later. Number 4, turning down Kill Bill. Few actors would say no to Quentin Tarantino at the height of his influence, but Kevin Costner did just that. When Tarantino offered him the role of Bill in Kill Bill, Costner surprised many by declining. It wasn't that he lacked respect for Tarantino's vision. It was because his heart was already committed elsewhere. At that very moment, Open Range demanded his full attention. The film was a passion project that required not just acting, but directing and producing as well. Splitting his focus could have compromised the authenticity he was striving for. By turning down the role, Costner reaffirmed where his priorities lay, telling a Western story that felt real, personal, and enduring. In hindsight, his choice defined the path of his career in the 2000s, ensuring Open Range carried his full creative energy. Number 5, Duvall or Nothing. When it came to casting Boss Spearman, Kevin Costner was absolutely clear. Without Robert Duvall, there would be no Open Range. Costner respected Duvall's presence, believing he embodied the quiet authority and moral weight that the role demanded. What might have been a gamble turned into one of the smoothest parts of production. As soon as Duvall read the script, he agreed instantly, drawn to the richness of the story and the honesty in its characters. Their on-screen chemistry anchored the film, providing a steady heart around which the action and tension revolved. For audiences, it felt effortless, but began with a director conviction and an actor's immediate yes. Without that moment, Open Range may never have reached the screen in the form we know today. Number 6, Annette Bening's quiet strength. Romance in westerns can sometimes feel forced, but in Open Range, it carried an understated weight thanks to Annette Bening. Cast as Sue Barlow, she brought maturity and emotional depth to the story, balancing the rugged frontier with compassion and grounded realism. Rather than falling into cliches of sweeping passion or melodrama, her performance made a connection between Charlie and Sue feel natural and earned. Every glance, pause, and moment of silence carried meaning, giving the love story a tenderness that never overshadowed the central conflict. Costner chose Bening not for glamour, but for authenticity, and the decision added an anchor humanity that deepened the film's impact. Number 7, an audition limp changed the script. Sometimes the smallest choices during an audition can ripple all the way into the finished film. When actor Dean McDermott came in to read for his role, he decided on the spot to give his character a slight limp. It wasn't written in the script, but McDermott felt added a layer of personality to a man living in the harsh realities of frontier life. Kevin Costner immediately noticed the detail and was struck by how authentic it felt. Instead of treating it as a passing improvisation, he ordered the limp to be written into the character permanently. That small touch gave the role a lived-in quality and reminded everyone on set that authenticity wasn't just about big landscapes and gunfights. It was about tiny human gestures. In the end, a subtle creative choice from an audition room made its way into every frame McDermott appeared in, helping ground Open Range and realism. Number 8, Michael Jeter's lasting legacy. Not every moment in Open Range was carefully scripted. Some of the most memorable came from improvisation. Actor Michael Jeter, who played Percy, brought a natural warmth to his scenes, and during filming, he added small touches that weren't originally planned. One improvised moment in particular was so heartfelt that Kevin Costner chose to keep in the final cut, giving the film an extra layer of humanity. Jeter's contribution was made even more meaningful because it became one of his last performances. He passed away shortly before the movie's release, leaving behind a career filled with unforgettable roles in projects like The Green Mile and Evening Shade. Costner dedicated Open Range to his memory, ensuring that Jeter's work would be honored and remembered. For audiences, that knowledge adds poignancy, turning Percy into more than just a supporting character. He became a symbol of legacy within the film. Number 9, a gymnasium turned rehearsal stage. Before the cameras ever rolled, Kevin Costner wanted the cast to feel like a real cattle crew rather than actors dropped into costumes. To achieve that, he rented out a local gymnasium and turned it into an unconventional rehearsal hall. The wide open space allowed the actors to block scenes, practice timing, and get comfortable with one another in a way that built chemistry before stepping onto set. But Costner didn't stop there. He also took rehearsals outdoors, moving the cast into open fields, so that dialogue could be practiced under the same natural conditions they'd faced during shooting. Wind, distance, and natural distractions became part of their preparation. By the time production began, the cast wasn't just reciting lines. They were living them. That extra dedication gave Open Range and authenticity often missing from modern westerns, making the characters feel like part of the landscape rather than performers standing against it. Number 10, a rookie behind the camera. When it came to cinematography, Kevin Costner made a bold decision. Instead of hiring an established Hollywood veteran, he chose Michael Murrow, a relative newcomer who had never worked as director of photography on a feature of this scale. It was a gamble, but Costner believed Murrow had the eye to capture both the grandeur of the frontier and the intimacy of the characters. Murrow leaned heavily on natural light, using the sweeping Alberta skies to frame the story rather than relying on artificial setups. The result was a visual style that felt grounded and unpolished in the best way, perfectly matching the themes of the film. His work on Open Range launched him into a career that included acclaimed projects like Crash and later Costner's ambitious Horizon. That leap of faith showed how trusting fresh talent can sometimes deliver images that seasoned professionals might not have risked.